Okay, thank you, Kimberly. Good to see you all this afternoon. Miss Liz Riley, the Deputy Director, Sedema, as you heard, and the Chief Fire Officer, of course, department under me, a key person in Barbados in terms of our sustainability in home affairs, and would have heard recently retired Permanent Secretary Edison Allen, who is a constituent, lives a stone's throw from here, and Paris ambassadors for this year, meeting for the first time, Darren Michaela and Rhonda, who has been helping with Paris ambassadors for probably the last decade or so. Good to see you. And Rhonda, of course, well known to us. Rhonda has coordinated each of our 3 life and work skills programs that we've had in St. James North through the foundation, the Clarkson Foundation, of which I'm patron. And, you know, members of St. James North DEO and St. James North BLP branch, and of course, members of the Department of Emergency Management and the acting director, Daniel, the 2 Daniels here. And of course, our guest this evening, Mr. Jeremy Cullimer, one of the leading disaster management and resilience experts in the Caribbean, a wealth of knowledge, and we all look forward to what he has to say. And of course, it's being recorded, so it'll go out to the wider public. Julia Rollins here as well from GIS will certainly ensure that that is done. You know, a lot of us, I mean, some people may have asked why at this time of the year we're holding this seminar. I mean, we're still, 5 months away from a hurricane season, but it means that the hurricane season is only 5 months away. And there's no better time to get prepared and get ready than outside the hurricane season. You can't wait, as a lot of Barbadians do, when the hurricane season starts, to say, oh man, let me now go and look to see if my house is sustainable, if I have the tin stuff, if I have proper insurance on my property. Look to clean up the bush around your house and in your community. Time to do that is now. And of course, as Minister of Home Affairs, I mean, I have to try and lead the way and get some momentum in this, and happy that the St. James North District Emergency Organization, President Kimberly, has agreed and led the way in organizing this session this afternoon. Disaster resilience is not only something that concerns or ought to concern a cabinet or a government. Everyone has to be mindful of it, because as Kimberly said, and Kimberly has been the one person here, and Liz too, I'm sure, who has been in a Caribbean country in the aftermath of a hurricane. She would have gone to Dominica, I think 4 days after Hurricane Maria, 2.5 years ago. And certainly none of us would want to be subject to force winds of 180 miles an hour plus, and that's what they are now. What with climate change certainly having an impact negatively on the strength now of hurricane forces, in spite of what some world leaders have to say in denying the science. And look, we can't stop the hurricane from coming, but we can certainly prepare to do our best against it and to be able to recover as quickly as possibly after a hurricane or storm. And that means, of course, preparing first your own household for any potential disaster. And remember, look, I mean, a lot of us say God is a Bajan, and we good. But I'm sure that the Dominicans used to say God is a Dominican too. They're just as religious as we do. Have many people, I mean, it's just that They probably have majority Catholics. I believe we have majority Anglicans, all serving the same God. And the same Dorian that passed us on the Monday evening last year reached Bahamas the Sunday, 6 days after, 85 miles an hour, and destroyed 2 islands. So, that is the reality of the situation. So our own households, we have to prepare our families. And as I did last year, called on everybody to ensure their houses, make sure that your houses, whatever type, are fully insured. And I mean, certainly the chattel houses can be insured, as I understand it, for as little as $30 a month. And surely we can, most of us, can find $30 a month in those cases to insure your home. Yes, there's some people with disabilities, old people, that I think we have to find a platform, and we're committed in our manifesto to find a platform whereby those people's homes, the most vulnerable, who may not be financially able to afford to insure, would be able to still insure. This is something that has been a challenge for Barbados' government for at least 40 years, to be able to comprehensively insure all houses in Barbados. We have to ensure that our houses are sustainable. So if your roof needs repairing, your roof is susceptible, or you have some shaky windows, this is the time now to move to repair, and not wait until June or July or August to be looking about for the best price for wood. Your communities, everyone has a responsibility to maintain their communities. Government can't do all. Government in 2020 is not capable in terms of the resources under an IMF program, having taken over a country 20 months ago that was essentially bankrupt financially, the third most indebted country in the world. No citizen can reasonably expect government now to do everything in terms of clearing your communities and all your drains. So yes, last month, the Cabinet of Barbados and the government decided, look, Barbados is not clean, it's too bushy. We're inviting, hopefully, a few 100,000 more people than we normally get this year to Barbados with the 2020 gathering. So we've employed 360 people, 12 from each constituency, to clean up Barbados. You would have seen them. Between NCC, mainly in NCC, and some in the Ministry of Transport and Works. That's a 3-month program so far, to be completed end of March, and we would probably relook at the program again end of March and see if we have finances to continue it a bit, depending on how far we've got in terms of cleaning. But communities have to join together themselves, neighborhood, young men who are around with tools, and help clean up their own community as well and keep it clean. Having cleaned it now, you know that in next 6 months you might have to go again, and that's what community in Dublin Road did, for instance, early last year. But, at government level, certainly we know that we have to lead the way. So we will ensure, as we have done since coming into office, greater water capacity in the event of a disaster in the aftermath, and greater energy capacity and vehicles available. We have entered into memorandums of understanding with the private sector that we could command their vehicles, equipment, tractors, etc., in the aftermath of a disaster from the private sector. Also, we've entered memorandums of understanding with food distributors so that we can ensure supply of food in the aftermath of a disaster. And of course, we've made arrangements that if parts of Barbados may be cut off, that the food will be distributed pre the event into those parts, as well as equipment as well. So these are the kind of strategies that we as a government have sought to employ within the context, of course, of our economic and financial constraints at present. But this is significant, this is important, and we have to ensure that Barbados is as ready as possible to face a disaster, to manage it, and to be resilient. That's the word that is used a lot these days in the face of a disaster. So I come here to urge the communities, not only of St. James, but of all of Barbados, to get ready at this stage. It's not too soon to get ready. The Defence Force, of course, all aspects of government are commanded, of course, the fire service in a crisis situation. And of course, they're set up emergency councils under the Department of Emergency Management, Ministry of Home Affairs. As you know, last year Cabinet would have approved a national shutdown and reactivation policy, something again which was absent in previous years, even though last government spoke about it, never brought it into force, and that certainly helped when Dorian passed here in terms of our preparation and closing down aspects of Barbados, the private sector, the government, then the emergency private sector departments, emergency government departments, clearly with the security forces still being available and ensuring that people were off the roads in a timely manner. And I come to urge everyone to be prepared, you, your families, your communities, join with us together to make us as ready as possible. We lie within the second most vulnerable part of the world in terms of natural disasters. I think it's only Asia, parts of Asia that may be more vulnerable than the Caribbean region. And we are, of course, small island states that are already under serious socio-economic pressure. So, as all of you are sure, I look forward to Mr. Jeremy Cullimer's address, and of course we would, I'm sure, have questions to ask him after his address. I thank you.